Welcome to Rebel Chaser. My name is Gail, and I'm getting my voice back. Not 100%, but it's coming back. Anyway, I have a clip for you from Judge Cooney, and he's got a woman who just doesn't seem to want to clean up the trash around her place and wants to just argue about it instead. I'll let you guys watch.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to call the case. It's King's Court versus Heidi Williams, file 9100 of 2025. And I see, let's see, Ms. Reed is here on behalf of King's Court. And also Jennifer Holk, I'm assuming you're the property manager. And Ms. Williams also. I'd like to start by identifying the issues here. It's my understanding the parties have not reached any agreement. So Ms. Reed, from your perspective, what are the issues?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'll be as brief as I can. So in late November, a just cause demand was sent to Ms. Williams based on failure to maintain and other site and condition issues. They weren't remedied, so we ended up filing, it looks like in mid-January, the summons and complaint for tenancy, for termination of tenancy. We had a first hearing, I believe, about 2.5 weeks ago. Between that time and now, we've made a couple of efforts to try to get this resolved. I've sent over today, I sent over a proposed conditional dismissal to Ms. Williams. It's my understanding that it had been sent to Ms. Hollick earlier this week, and she had contacted Ms. Williams to come in to review it. She hadn't done so, but the proposed conditional dismissal just basically, the terms were placing Ms. Williams on a probationary period for 12 months and giving her until April 11th to resolve basically 3 particular issues with regard to the home and site. And then obviously staying in compliance with the rules and regulations and lease for that, at least for obviously the 12-month period. There are still issues that remain today, and I apologize for the pictures. They're things that are on the site not stored properly, and failure to pick up the dog excrement is one of the bigger issues. So the CD wasn't acceptable, the terms to Ms. Williams, so we were ready to proceed to trial today on those issues.
Okay. You said there were 3 different issues that needed to be resolved within a certain amount of time. The first was improperly stored items on the site. The second was failure to pick up dog excrement. And what was the third?
The third one is, well, specifically it was the dog excrement, and then remove and or store ladder and kiddie pool that are behind the porch, and remove and store all items behind the house on the side of the shed. So those were the 3 particular issues that have the time frame set forth in the conditional dismissal.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Williams, do you agree that those are the issues, whether there's a violation of the lease agreement? Okay, you're shaking your head no. So what do you believe are the issues here?
The notification or notice of violation that I have received in November specifically read, front porch and carport are extremely cluttered. Required tenant action, owner is to remove all furniture and all other clutter and storage items from front porch and under carport. No later than the 1st, correct by the 11th, whatever. So when I went to the breakout room, I had sent them a picture, and I wish I'd known that this was going to be a trial or whatever today. I sent them a picture of my carport. The only thing that's under the carport is a snow shovel and a snowblower, and my porch is clear. During that breakout room, all of these additional things, like between the house and the shed, which you can't possibly see that unless you enter my site and walk around and go back there and see it. All of the pictures that the park had taken on my notifications or violations were taken from a pickup truck, because you can see the mirror of the truck. So I was told at the breakout meeting that the shovel and the snowblower were not allowed to be in front of my porch. And I said, okay, I'm on disability for fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis of my spine. Are you asking me to carry my snowblower back to my shed unless I need to snowblow? And the response was, well, there's no snow today. So
Okay.
all of
Are there other issues besides where the items are stored and which items were in the notice?
the notice that we went to court on was the front porch. Front porch and carport are extremely cluttered, and I addressed those. When we went to the breakout room, all of a sudden it's the stuff between your shed and your house. That was never mentioned
Okay.
before, and they would have had to come on my lot to see that. I have no problem with this, but other than I feel completely like blown away, and I was so nervous. I don't do court. This is the only time I've ever gone to court. So I was like,
Okay, so let me just ask, Ms. Williams, have the items that, whether they were in the notice or not, but the items that are an issue today, have those been properly stored away now?
the items that were between the shed and the house have not been put away. I have
Okay,
to get someone, and matter of fact, when I went back there, there's a skunk living under my neighbor's shed right now. So I was waiting for this
okay,
agreement that they were going to send. I got it.
okay. I'm gonna stop you right there because at this time, I just wanted to know what the issues were. And so I'll give you a chance to fully explain in testimony, but I think at this time we'll go ahead and take the testimony and
And
yeah, go ahead.
I had no idea that an opportunity to provide evidence would even be today. I mean, I got their agreement 3 hours before court today. This is when I received their
Well,
agreement.
I'm sure at the first hearing, I indicated that, we have a hearing. I mean, it's going to be a hearing. We're going to take testimony and evidence. And I suppose as things develop, I may be willing to grant an adjournment for you to submit additional evidence.
I have,
But
yeah, because I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, but I think we're going to go ahead with testimony today, and we'll see if there are issues where the court believes additional evidence would be helpful. So with that, the way this works is the plaintiff goes first, so because it's the plaintiff's burden to prove that there's been a violation of the lease agreement. So I'll call on Ms. Reed to present any evidence she has. And then Ms. Williams, you will have an opportunity to cross-examine any witnesses that are called. I'm going to guess it's going to be Jennifer Hollick that testifies. And so you'll have a chance to question her. Please don't interrupt or until Ms. Reed is finished with her questioning. After Ms. Reed has presented all of her evidence, I'll give you a chance to testify yourself. And it sounds like you don't have any other evidence today, witnesses or photographs or other documents, but you will have a chance to testify, okay? and Ms. Reed will have a chance to cross-examine you. So with that, Ms. Reed, are you calling Ms. Hollick as a witness?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Hollick, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Thank you. Ms. Hollick, you're employed by King's Court, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And how long, and what is your title there?
Community manager.
Okay. And as community manager, you're familiar with the books and records and other documents kept in the normal course of business related to management of the community?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with Ms. Williams and her particular residence?
Yes.
Okay. And that's at the Frank Street or Drive?
Yes.
Okay. And I think the court can take judicial notice of the summons and complaint and the just cause demand that are in the court file. But with regard to that, a just cause demand was issued to Ms. Williams in November of 2024 based on, your understanding that was based on condition issues with the home and site?
That's correct.
Okay. And that was in November of 2024. Were those issues resolved prior to the initial hearing in this case in January?
They were not.
Okay. And just to cut to the quick, are those issues that were addressed in the violations that we'll talk about in a second, but the violation notices and the just cause demand, have those been remedied as of today's date?
They have not.
Okay. And that notice to quit, or excuse me, the just cause demand that was sent in November, were there rule violations that had been sent to Ms. Williams prior to that, which precipitated the issuance of that demand?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it was kind of a long question. So the 30-day just cause demand that was issued in November, was that based on verbal information provided to Ms. Williams, or were there written rule or lease violations that had been sent to her previously?
There were written violations, notice of rule violations sent to her.
Okay, and how are those sent to the tenants at King's Court?
They are given they are taken to the house.
Okay, all right. Do you have any reason to believe that Ms. Williams did not receive those written violations?
No, I believe she did receive all of those.
Okay. And do you know, I guess maybe immediately preceding that just cause demand in November of 2024, do you know how many rule violations had been sent to her?
I can see 3 that are in front of me right now.
Okay. And
an RVP letter.
okay. And just to clarify the record, what is an RVP letter?
The RVP letter, we basically, once we reach 3 violations, and if it hasn't been cured, our regional vice president does send out a letter and does give them an additional 10 days.
Okay. All right. And it's your understanding that letter was also sent to Ms. Williams?
Yes, looks like it was sent on November 8th of 24.
Okay. So about a week
That's
before
sent in the mail.
Okay. And that's about a week before the just cause demand was sent?
Correct.
Okay. So those 3 rule violations, who witnesses the violations of the lease or rules and provides that information so that the violations can be prepared in a written form?
The maintenance technicians are the ones who actually take the pictures and do the violations. And then that does come through to me as well. So I do see those.
Okay. So the 3 violations that I'm looking at, I guess it'd probably be easiest, Your Honor, if I can, unless you have an objection, if I could just refer to them all as our plaintiff's proposed exhibit number 1, the 3 written rule violations that I submitted to the court.
That's fine, but if you could maybe share screen the photos that you want me to look at, that would help.
Okay.
I could do that too if you want, Sarah. I mean.
Oh, do you know how to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just I'll pull up your email here.
Okay.
Your Honor, I just, for the record, I sent them over to the court and to Ms. Williams and Ms. Hollick before Your Honor took the record or the bench in this case, because I'm not good at
And-
share screening.
And Ms. Martin here printed them out for me, so I've got them in hard copy, but I want to make sure I know which photo you're referring to.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
okay.
This was just a front view of the house. And this is just, again, we just kind of went around the whole house to take pictures this morning before court. So you can see that
Okay.
that side is clean.
And I'm
So
going
it's
to mark
these
them
items-
sequentially as we
Yeah,
go.
Jen,
So
hold on
that
just a
was
second.
1 and this is 2. Okay.
Sorry.
That's right.
One was on my side again today.
Okay, so we're on the 3rd photo, and what am I supposed to be looking at here?
So these are just these are just items that are stored outside behind the house, just the clutter behind the house.
And Jen,
Okay,
just
so
to clarify these, oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
that's I'm trying to figure out where that is in relation to the first 2 pictures. It
This
looks like
is
it's
behind the
between
home.
2. It is behind it. Okay, so there's another home directly behind.
That's a shed. That's a shed back there. So
Oh, it's a shed. Okay, so it's between the home and the shed. Okay, got it. All right.
And Jen, before you move on, just to clarify, the pictures that you're showing right now, are these from today?
these are from this morning.
From this morning. Okay, thank you.
And then I'll go on to the next ones. This is just, again, that's by the shed, it looks like, and this is just really just debris from, looks like tree branches.
Okay, do
I'm
you know
not
what is
sure.
in that picture?
What's that, Sarah? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, can you explain what that is, or do you know what that is that you can
I'm
clarify?
not sure, just some buckets full of stuff sitting back there.
Are those all the pictures that were taken this morning?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, that's fine. So, I guess I'm going a little out of order, Your Honor, and I apologize. So I guess would it be easier, since those were all pictures from this morning, Your Honor, to just have those marked as our proposed exhibit 1?
Sure. But if I would appreciate if you continue to go through them and have your witness explain what the significance of each one is. So
Okay.
I'm on 7. It shows a large tree branch.
Okay. All right. So, Jen, so with regard to this branch, is this, or limb, whatever you might want to call it, is this, just to clarify, this is on Miss Williams' property?
Yeah, these are just items that are on the actual property.
Okay. Do you know how long that particular branch has been lying there?
I know that we took pictures when we went to court on March 10th. We did take pictures on March 10th as well. And these were on those pictures on March 10th as well.
Okay. So at least 2 weeks, but it could be longer, or just exactly 2 weeks.
I know for sure 2 weeks, but I'm not sure how much longer past 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. And are the branches and other natural debris that would be in someone's yard, is that the tenant's responsibility to take care of?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so let's see, with the first picture, I think was a couple of, the things behind the shed, and then I guess up against or between another home. Those are things that belong to Miss Williams.
Yes, those are right behind her home site, right behind her home on her home site.
Okay. Do you have any idea how long those items have been there?
I do not know. We just started taking, when we went to court on the 10th, we took pictures prior to court, and then we took pictures this morning prior to court.
Okay. All right. Is that all of the pictures with this particular exhibit, Ms. Hollick, or there?
There's a couple other pictures, but some of those were from the last time we took pictures or from the last court date, and that showed the dog feces and such, so.
Okay.
And it showed the other picture we took before court with the same stuff behind the home.
All right. Can you pull up one of those to draw the judge's attention to one of those with the dog?
Yep, so, sorry, this is, I think these were pictures taken the first time we went to court on the 10th. This was the yard. I know it's probably is kind of difficult to see because it's all kind of dark, but this is just the dog feces in the yard.
Okay.
And that's just kind of giving you a better view of the home.
And it looks like those photos of the dog droppings, I'm up to number 13. And then I don't know, it looks like 14, it's something different, so.
Yeah, there were a few
That
different
sounds-
pictures of the dog feces. I just didn't go
Okay.
through all of those.
Okay, so
so
we're up to
2,
14. Go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Okay. And I'm not sure with 14 if that's the page number, Your Honor, that
Yeah.
you're looking at, or?
Yes, it is. It is with
Okay.
the hood of the car in the front foreground.
Okay, I see. All right. So that picture that the court is referring to, Jen, so that's just showing the front of the house, and there's some things that are stored outside.
Yeah, so this is just kind of an exterior photo of just some things stored outside. I know on our last court hearing, we had asked for the pool to be removed or just to be stored away, and the ladder. And this just has the snow blower and such, and then, the back of the home had the debris and, a bunch of items stored behind the home.
Okay.
So we were just asking
You
that all
said-
those be stored away.
I didn't catch the first item you said was a pole. Is that what you said?
There's a pool, and you can kind of see it
Pool.
behind here. There was a pool back there with a ladder.
Oh, I don't see it.
There's blue right here. I don't know if another picture right here would be this one here I'll show next will be 246.
Oh, okay.
Here.
Okay, at the
on number
rear of
9.
the porch. The rear of the porch, the blue I see back there, okay?
Yes.
I don't see the ladder, but I see the,
It's
Blue
laying
of the pool.
sideways. Yeah, it's kind of in front of the pool. It's blending in with the bushes. Same color.
okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Okay, thank you. So I think that does it for all the pictures of the site as of today. Is that correct, Ms. Halleck, or are there additional ones in there?
That's all. Yeah.
All right. So going back to I guess, Your Honor, if there are no objections, I'd request that our plaintiff's proposed exhibit 1 be admitted. And just for the record, I did copy Ms. Williams with the email sent to Ms. Hollick and to the court.
Okay, so is there any objection to admission of those photos, Ms. Williams?
No, other than how they got them, but no.
Okay. So those are marked as exhibits 1 through 14 and as plaintiff's exhibit 1.
Okay, thank you. So Ms. Hollick, going back to the 3 violations, I see one that was dated November 1st, and then November 7th, and then November 11th. How were those designated, and were they for different issues or the same issues?
They say that basically the same thing, just that because there was still clutter, it looks like on the porch and around the porch. And
okay, so the first one that was issued on November 1st, it indicates just kind of some general information, but indicates, actually, I apologize, it's dated October 29th.
October 29th, yeah.
It says description: front porch and carport area are extremely cluttered. So again, just because we kind of interrupted a little bit with the picture. So this rule violation would have been given to Miss Williams at her home on or about the 29th of October?
Correct.
Okay. And is this the standard protocol that that King's Court does for all residents and all violations, or are certain violations handled in a different manner?
No, this would be pretty standard. I mean, some things need more time, things like painting and stuff like that, but this would be standard.
Okay. And there's a page 2 to each of these violations. So in looking at this first one, there are a couple of pictures, and they're black and white pictures, but what is the purpose of the pictures that are attached to the rule violation?
The pictures are just to show the items, the items or whatever is wrong with the home site.
Okay. So if you said your home site needs maintenance, that might be vague for some people to understand what might need to be cured.
I guess it could be vague for some people. Yeah.
Okay. So you attach the pictures to make it a little more clear.
Correct.
Okay. And so then a second one, it looks like was issued, it says October 29th, but midway down, it says second violation. Do you know when the second one would have been sent to Miss Williams or given to Miss Williams?
This says, so the original dates always stay there when you do the, so you'll see that date of October 29th on all of them, because that was the initial, violation.
Okay.
This one says date issued 11/4 on the front of the violation, and then she was given until November to correct by November 7th.
Okay. And then it looks like there was a final one that was issued, if I'm looking at the same area, November 8th, and have to have it cured by November 11th. So she was given about 3 days each time a rule violation was issued.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know, in retrospect, between the first and the second and the third, if any of the issues were addressed, or, one or two, or?
I am not exactly sure, because I know that our program has kind of changed a little bit, and now we can edit pictures. We weren't able to edit pictures. But we can edit the pictures now, so we can take new pictures every time.
Okay. And so is there a portion of the lease and or the community rules that reference the home site maintenance, the home maintenance and the site maintenance?
Yes.
Okay. And are those specific provisions or paragraphs referenced in the rule violation, so a tenant can look and say, I didn't realize this was an issue? Where in the lease does it say I have to do this?
I mean, it is in the lease that she signed, that, you know what I mean? But on here, I mean, it's specific and says that the area is to have a clean appearance.
Okay.
And then it says to take notice that a violation of the rules and regulations. So it does kind of state everything. It probably doesn't say exactly what paragraph in the lease that it is.
Okay.
But it is in the lease and the rules.
Okay. And do you have any reason to believe that Ms. Williams doesn't have a current copy of the rules or anything of that nature?
No.
Okay. Have you had discussions with her about these particular rule violations since this case has been initiated with the court?
When I came in, I started here in January, and the 30-day, they had given her the 30-day notice to move out within 30 days, and she had not done that. So that's when I moved forward. We have had, and we had an email, maybe one email, but have not had a whole lot of correspondence.
Okay.
Because we had a court date of the March 10th was our first court date.
Okay. Your Honor, if there are no objections, I would ask that the rule violations be submitted either as 15, 16, and 17, or 15 A, B, and C, or whichever Your Honor would prefer.
Well, because we labeled it, the photos as plaintiff's exhibit 1, we'll label the violation notices, the one that says no later than November 1st to be corrected. That'll be exhibit 2, no later than exhibit, the second violation is exhibit 3, and the third violation, exhibit 4.
Okay.
I do have a question about those. However, they're all dated October 29th of 24. But obviously the correction dates are different and they're labeled first, second, and third. So I don't understand why it says date October 29th on all three.
The
Can
date of
you just
October
elaborate?
29th is the original date of the violation. That is when it started. And that stays on the
Oh.
violations. And as you look through the violations, there's a section that will show the first, second, and third. But the original date stays. That's how we track it. So,
Well, I was trying to figure out when you actually gave her the notice. Does it indicate on these violations when? Oh, I see an issue date now. Okay.
Yeah.
October 29th, November 4th, and November 8th. Got it. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Okay, thank you. I'll just reiterate my request to publish have those exhibits admitted if there are no objections.
Any objection, Ms. Williams?
No.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Thank you. Ms. Howard, with regard to these, just to reiterate, these rule violations have been issued, a first, second, third, and then a letter from the regional vice president regarding the maintenance of the home and the surrounding area. Those hadn't been remedied, and then you've issued the 30-day demand in November, correct?
Correct.
And again, the issues still weren't resolved, and you proceeded with filing with the court and precipitated then the first and today's second hearing.
Correct.
Okay, and these pictures as of today's date, these pictures show conditions of the home, but more likely the site that are still in violation of the rules, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And have you had any, just to clarify, have you had any further conversations with Ms. Williams about how to get these things taken care of? If she needs additional time, if doesn't have the resources to financially take care of these things right away? Have you had any further conversations with her about remedy?
The only conversation that has been had was at court. We had a breakout room at court. So all these things were brought up at the last court date on March 10th. And then we did give the 2 weeks to try to cure those items and get those items removed from the site or stored away.
Okay. And these are standard violations throughout the park, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is it your well, strike that. Have you singled out Ms. Williams for any particular reason, or are these violations something that are relatively common that you have to do throughout the community?
Yeah, this is relatively common. We do it every day.
Okay. All right. Okay. I had no further questions for my client, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm just trying to identify the specific parts of the community rules, specific sections that
Okay.
are alleged to have been violated.
Sure, I could probably have Ms. Halleck testify to that, given Ms. Halleck, if you can reference the 30-day demand of the attachment A, and then in correlation with the community rules.
So you're talking about on the back of the 30-day, it does talk about the explanation of the, or the rules basically. So there's a lot of different things listed here. I'm not sure which you would like me to go through the explanation of the terminations. Is that,
Well,
are you
in
talking
looking at
about specifically in the lease?
I apologize. If the attachment A to the just cause demand references, there's specific violations or alleged violations of the rules and lease. And
Okay, I do see attachment A now.
Yes.
That is part of the pleadings, and I'll take a look at that then, as far as which specific sections are being alleged to have been violated.
Okay. I could just ask one further question from my client, just so I'll have
Go ahead.
The
Yeah.
community rules, which I did include with my email to everyone involved for our plaintiff's exhibit 5. Ms. Howlick, the King's Court community rules that's been submitted, and I guess it will be our proposed exhibit 5. That's the standard rules that are issued to the tenants at King's Court.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any reason to believe that Ms. Williams does not have a copy of the community rules?
No, I don't believe, I mean, everybody should have a copy. I mean, it comes with the renewals and.
I don't know.
All right. So and just to assist the court with the judge's question. So on attachment A, it references home and home site maintenance. And that's one of the community rules.
Yes.
Okay. Just trying to. It looks like the top of page 3 of the community rules, it references home and home site maintenance, A through E.
Yes.
Okay. And so is it your contention through the violations and the just cause demand that the pictures and the violations within those pictures and violations are referenced in this home and home site maintenance community rule?
Yes.
Okay. And then it also references on attachment A, it says storage shed. So it looks like that. Is that part of the rules?
Yes.
All right. Oh, I see. So it's at the bottom of that same page. There's a section relative to the storage shed.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The same page in the community rules where the home and home site maintenance at the bottom, there's a section that references the storage shed.
Yes.
Okay. And the items not being properly stored and well, I strike that. Can you just explain what the violations are that are related to the storage shed?
Yeah, it was storing everything in the shed. So I'm, putting the items need to be stored away. So
Okay.
the excessive clutter is what we're, trying to eliminate.
Okay.
And
So
just
the
be
shed itself
stored.
isn't a violation. It's the fact that things aren't stored in the shed.
Correct. The shed is not a violation. It's just that items should be either removed from the site or stored in the shed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Your Honor, if there are no objections, I'd ask for the rules, which I submitted to be, I believe, proposed exhibit 5, I believe.
Okay, so I will admit that is exhibit 5 if there's no objection. Okay, anything else, Ms. Reed?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay, so Ms. Williams, this is your opportunity to ask the witness questions. Keep in mind, you will have a chance to testify yourself, so this is not the time to try to testify or tell me what you want me to know. It's a chance to ask the witness what any questions you have for her, okay?
Okay, I did my best to listen and jot down, because again, I was just planning on requesting a contingency or whatever. Do I have a signed lease with King's Court?
Yeah. Let me pull up your account. You could be on month to month, so let me look real quick. Sorry, it's just taking a second to buffer here. Looks like you are on a month to month.
And why was I not allowed to renew a lease?
I would have to look into that.
So
Sometimes if you have, if it is, it could be the home site conditions. That is not uncommon.
when I was denied, when I asked for it and she said, did you clean up your site? I had asked Okay, it's a question. Have other people been denied a lease?
Your Honor, I would just object. I don't think that's relevant.
It's very relevant. How am I not being singled out?
Okay. Well, okay, I think Ms. Reed is correct. I don't see the relevance of whether other people were denied a lease agreement. There are a variety of reasons, a bad credit check or fail to pay rent or whatever. There are many reasons why that could happen. Unless you can tell me why it's relevant, I'm going to sustain the objection.
I get charged $41 a month because they would not let me renew a lease.
Okay, I'm sustaining the objection. So go ahead and ask another question, please, if you have any.
So the last signed lease I have expired September 30th, I believe, of 2024.
I'm looking right now. Yes, it looks like the month to month started in October of 24.
Okay, and does it state in I think it's community rules that it's for 12 months. So once the lease agreement is 12 months. So once September 30th came, I was no longer held on conditions of the lease.
No, that's not true. You just go to a month to month tenancy instead of, so it still is, you're still in the lease. It's just, it's a month to month tenancy.
Okay. I will find.
I mean, you still need to comply with rules and such. It's just, it's month to month.
Where's the terminology? I just highlighted it too. There is terminology that clearly states that the lease is for 12 months.
Correct.
So why would I still be held under lease terms if the lease expired September 30th?
I mean, the home is still on the lot.
I'm going to, okay, so Ms. Williams, it's not up to this witness. She can't answer questions about the law. Okay, only factual questions can be asked. So go ahead and ask any questions you have about facts.
Okay, and I have emailed all of those questions previous to the previous manager and did not. I'm a very wordy person. When we met in the side breakout room on the 10th, that was the first time I'd heard about the items between. Would you agree that that's the first time I had heard about the items between my house and my shed?
I don't know that that's the first time that you heard that. We did before that court hearing go and take pictures of the entire home site.
Would you agree that according to your community rules, you are not to come onto a person's community site or person's site unless there's, something in your sewer system that's blowing up or whatever, other than your four-sided inspections?
We can access the home site as needed.
Even though I own the trailer?
Yes, we own the property. And we do go onto home sites if we do need to, if there are violations, we can access the home site.
So, but you can go on, are you saying you can go on the site and look for violations when it's not an inspection time?
Yes, yes, we can. And so as we went to court on the 10th, we did go around the home site and take pictures of the whole home site.
Would you agree that the violation that I was taken to court for, I resolved, which was the pictures?
Some of it has been resolved.
It was the pictures of my front porch.
Yeah, some of it has been resolved.
But
But it's not
nothing,
all
I
been
didn't
resolved.
get any pictures of the back of my home. That was just verbally said to me, and I was like, wait a minute. And I believe I even worded it as I'm feeling discriminated against. And I
What was
sent
the
a pic.
question?
Would you agree that I never got the many pictures of that were taken behind my house that I didn't even know about?
We looked at those, I believe we looked at those at court, and we
No, we
discussed
did
them
not.
at court. If we didn't look at them, we definitely discussed them with the other attorney.
I was told by this attorney I didn't have a picture. I mean, she was just listing off stuff. Would you, I know you're not going to talk about other home sites. You're not going to be able to answer. The regional manager, when I had asked for some information regarding the notice that he had sent me, and I was not able to get a response of like the actual state of Michigan document number he was referring to. Is that something I pursue? Do you have all of his stuff in your file?
He doesn't have it, there is no document number attached to the RVP letter. The letter is just stating that we have had numerous violations on this home site. We're trying to cure it. We're gonna give you additional time. And after that additional time, then we'll do the 30-day notice.
Well, it clearly stated state of Michigan, blah, 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 and it had a huge typo in it. So it's obviously not a state of Michigan document.
It isn't a state of Michigan document. It's a letter. It's a letter.
No, he specifically worded it as the notice from the state of Michigan. See,
Do you have a copy of that?
yes, but like I said, I was not prepared to do any of this. And I don't want to take, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
I have a question for Ms. Hollick myself. You had testified earlier in response to one of Ms. Williams' questions that she had resolved some of the issues. And it's not clear to me which items specifically from the notices back in November, which items she took care of and which items she didn't. So can you be more specific about what the items of concern were back in November and which items she took care of and which ones she didn't?
Yeah, so you can see in the pictures from the original violations, you can see a red tote, but you can see now that red tote is put behind the home. So it's like that was just moved from one spot to another, but that was removed from the front area of the home. But it looks like the items were just moved to the back of the home.
Okay, so the red tote and what other items?
In the pictures, that's one of the main things that you can see in the pictures. So I can say that specifically. So again, I can't see all of the items on the porch with the
Okay,
pictures.
because what I see from the more recent photos in March, what I see is a snow blower. I think that's what it is. Could be a lawnmower for all I know, but there's been testimony it's a snow blower. And then there's a shovel next to it. So those were not specifically in the November notice, correct?
I can't tell from the pictures if those were still there. I would assume they were, but I can't see them in the picture.
So are residents expected to put their snow blower and shovel away during winter months, or?
I would say not during winter months, but when there's no snow, they would need to be stored away.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So you're saying the tote was just moved behind the pool, the blue pool. That's technically, I guess, under the porch or carport area, the porch area specifically. But And that's there in March. Was that there in October as well?
I don't know if that was there. I don't have a picture of behind the porch. I have a picture of the
Okay.
front, basically the front of the house and side.
Okay.
I'm sure I could get pictures.
All right. Okay. So Ms. Williams, do you have additional questions for Ms. Howard?
I'm sorry, just a moment, Your Honor. I mean, I could keep going and going and going, but like one of the things was the tree branch. Where exactly am I supposed to put the tree branch?
We have, I mean, if you need help with that, we can always help with that. I mean, you would want to just, if you can get someone to drag them to the road, we do have a spot for all of the yard waste.
So there is a place that we can be taking our yard waste to right now?
Yes. That's right by the RV storage area.
Okay, so I can drag that there. Drag tree. Your Honor, I feel like.
Oh, hang on. This is time to
Right.
ask questions of Ms. Halleck. You will have a chance to testify, okay?
Okay, so you do believe that it's perfectly okay for you to be on my site without notification when it's not a four-sided inspection?
Yes, we do go on home sites for any violations. Yes.
Even though the violation was from the road?
Yes, before court, we had to take pictures of the home site, and that would require us to walk around the home site.
Do you agree that the violation that I was taken to court on was these pictures of the front of my house?
Yep, those are the front of the house.
And those are the violations that I was to address and correct, and I did?
They were just, as the items were just moved to the back of the home.
There was a fertilizer spreader, a pressure washer, a lawnmower, and a table, and all of those I put in my shed.
Okay.
I did not have the opportunity to put the big tote in the shed because I have to pull everything out to get it in there. But of the items I was told to remove, the only thing I still left outside was a tote. And you can't see it from the road. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm discussing instead of questioning. Do you feel that I corrected what I was violated, what my violations were for?
No.
These pictures and that description? Front of.
No, because there's still a pool and there's still a ladder. There's still items there.
But those weren't on the violations. The violations were taken, I'm sorry. The violations were taken from the road and it front of porch under carport. That's why
Your
I
Honor,
was.
I'm just gonna object. The attachment A clearly references the violations that are set forth. And I think Ms. Hollick has asked and answered those questions already.
And do you feel then that
Okay, hang on. There's been an objection.
Okay.
So I do think this is significant. There was a specific notice. It included a photograph and a description of what the violation was. And there is some evidence that the items that are being alleged to still be an issue were not part of that notice. And I'm not sure how important that's going to be in the big scheme of things, but I do think it's relevant. But you've also made your point, Ms. Williams, that and so you can make argument later about that. But unless you have some new question about that discrepancy between the notices and what the photographs show in March and today, then you need to move on, okay?
Okay, and tell me if I'm doing this wrong. When we were in the breakout room, was I able to see any March pictures?
I do not know if anybody had asked to see them. I had them, so they were given to the court.
Do you think I was aware that they even existed?
Yeah, I do, because we talked about it.
And the reason I was waiting, my understanding was there was going to be an agreement that I would address, which I had done, an agreement for me to sign. I have communicated previous that I don't communicate face to face or over the phone because things can get forgotten. So I prefer to communicate over email. Had I been told by anybody that the agreement was at the office?
Yes, I called you on Monday, left a message. You emailed me on Tuesday, which I have, and I let you know that the agreement was here in the office.
Do you remember me telling
So
you
you did know that it was here.
Do you remember me telling you and telling you previous that I don't do face to face
I do not recall that.
or over the phone because things get forgotten? I do everything.
But
Your
you
Honor,
did
I
know
don't
that we did know we had a copy here for you.
Your Honor, I don't, the agreement or alleged agreement is not relevant at this point because it was declined and it's not a requirement of this proceeding.
I'm not sure which agreement we're talking about. You mean in the breakout room?
We had prepared a couple of versions of a conditional dismissal.
Okay, I agree that negotiations are not relevant to this hearing. So go ahead, Ms. Williams. Ask a different question.
How to do this? Were additional items brought up at that breakout room that had not been brought up previous?
I would say that the pictures were taken and we discussed the items. We did go around the home and take the pictures, and we did discuss those items at the court hearing, and those were listed on that original conditional dismissal. So we were asking for those items to be completed by this next court date.
Was that court date to wrap up these violations?
This court date today was to give you time to fix those items and complete everything, and we had the conditional dismissal prepared.
Was the court date on the 10th to wrap up these conditions here?
No, the court date was to discuss everything. That was our first court date.
I don't know how to word things because I'm not an attorney.
You're doing just fine, Ms. Williams.
I don't know. I'm going to stop.
Okay, so Ms. Reed, do you have any additional questions for Ms. Hollick based on the questions of the defendant?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Ms. Hollick, if you could draw your attention back to Kings Court Community Rules. And on page 1, about halfway down, there's a section that's entitled Enforcement of Rules and Regulations, Notice of Rule Violations. The provisions of the community rules indicate that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it indicates that you can let a tenant know of a violation of a rule. It says a written rule reminder, notice of rule violation, notice to quit, or a termination of tenancy. So per the terms of the community rules, you're not required to issue a specific rule violation for each violation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is it fair to say you could, it probably wouldn't be the best course of action to try to resolve things, but according to the lease and the rules, you could just file a 30-day demand based on violations of the rule and lease, correct? There's no requirement that you do a rule violation?
Correct.
Okay, so when,
Excuse me,
Oh,
Ms.
sorry, sure.
Reed, which section were you referring to? Is that part of the lease agreement?
it's the community rules, Your Honor, our exhibit 5.
Community rules.
Yep.
Article 5, you said?
It was exhibit 5, Your Honor. That section is.
Oh, yeah, exhibit
almost
5.
halfway
So
down.
which heading?
It's about halfway down, enforcement of rules and regulations.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So, Ms. Hollick, just to summarize this, so the rule violations that were issued in October, November were for certain site issues. Then when those hadn't been remedied, the just cause demand was issued, and additional issues were set forth in that demand in November, correct? That referenced the storage shed and the home and home site maintenance.
That was discussed at the last court hearing on March 10th. Those
Okay.
items were talked about. Everything else you said
They
was
were
correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. And those would have been brought to Ms. Williams' attention by virtue of that attachment A and just cause demand being issued in November.
Say that again, Sarah, I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. So those issues that are set forth in the just cause demand and the attachment A, those would have been brought to Ms. Williams' attention back in November when that just cause demand was issued, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then just to I'll draw your attention also to page I guess the second to the last page, where I don't know, I can't find it. It indicates one of the community rules references that it's the tenant's responsibility to remove tree branches and other yard waste from the site, correct?
Correct.
All right. And I think that was all that I needed to draw Ms. Hollick's attention to, Your Honor. Just the particular provisions within the rules. Thank you.
All right. And did you have any other evidence you wish to offer, Ms. Reed?
No, the plaintiff is, closes its proofs.
Okay. And Ms. Williams, do you care to testify?
Yes. I would have.
You need to raise your right hand first. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down, and you are the defendant, Heidi Williams, correct?
Yes.
And go ahead, tell me whatever else you want me to know. Actually, how about we do it this way? I'm going to ask you questions first, and then I'll give you more a chance to elaborate however you want, but it'll hopefully my questions will direct you to what I think is important here. So you entered into a lease agreement with King's Court back in October 2023, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Okay, and that was for 1 year, and after the year was up, you continued to reside there, and that would be a month-to-month tenancy at that point. No specific term to the lease agreement, correct?
Correct. I was denied a new renewal.
Okay, and you pay the rental fee for the lot. You own the trailer yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're not denying that back in October, in November, let's see, well, October 29th, you were issued a notice of a violation. It says front porch and carport are extremely cluttered. Owner is to remove all furniture and all other clutter and storage items from the front porch and under the carport no later than November 1st, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then what did you do in response to that first violation?
There should be many emails between myself and the previous manager. And one of the things that I had brought to her attention is it states in community rules or whichever, that if there's things that aren't being done by the tenant, that the maintenance or the park will come in and complete those things and charge the person. And I said, by all means, have them come and charge me, because I can't physically move this stuff when I'm in a fibromyalgia flare, when my spine's out. I'm on disability for this. They know it. Um, Matter of fact,
Did the park, okay, you said it was the park manager. That's not Ms. Hollick, someone else you were communicating with. Did they ever say, oh, that's okay, don't worry about the violation. We're going to clean it up for you and we'll send you a bill?
no, sir.
Okay, so what did you do to remedy the violation then? Did you hire someone? Did you call someone to
Yes,
come
I
get
had.
the
Yes,
items? Okay, who was that?
I hired someone, a friend of a friend, that was looking for $30 to carry the items to my shed. And I knew I needed to
Okay,
have that
and
done before court.
so you gave a list of items earlier, the pressure washer, a table. What else was it that you had that person move for $30?
Fertilizer spreader and fertilizer, um, lawnmower table, fertilizer spreader, pressure washer, lawnmower.
Okay, and you said that with the red tote that was moved to the back, not into the shed, but between the shed and the back of the home, correct?
Right. That has gallon jugs of RV antifreeze. So, and the way that he put stuff in my shed was just, ugh. We just, so unfortunately, everything in there is going to have to come out, like lighting fixtures and bicycle and tile.
So was the reason for not putting the red tote in the shed, was that because he didn't have space in there or what?
Correct. It's heavy, there's no space, and I don't need RV antifreeze. So instead of cramming it into the back, I was going to have my friend come get it.
Okay, but you didn't do that, right?
No, no, sir.
All right, and then there's a pool in one of the pictures and with a ladder for the pool that's under the porch area. So it's leaning up against the back of the porch. Was
Yes,
that there back in November?
yes, on the back of the porch, yes.
Okay, and so did you
But what,
have your friend try to put that in the shed or get rid of it or something?
no, because the way I interpreted the violation was front porch and carport, move furniture and other clutter from front porch and under carport. The pool cannot be seen from the road. It can't be seen in the pictures I was getting of these violations. So the only way they would have a picture of that now is where they've added to the violations since the hearing, since we were supposed to meet on March 10th.
Okay, but irregardless of that or how they got the pictures, you're admitting the pool was there. You figured it was okay because it couldn't be
Yes,
seen from the road.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
so you left it there. Okay. The ladder's laying there on the ground and a little corner of the pool sticking out, or I wouldn't be able to see it in this
Right.
picture marked 14.
Considering the snow depth and me trying to figure out, I mean, the pool, yeah, I could, but I had to figure out if I can put that ladder up in the roof of my shed and how to lift it up there. So it's
Okay.
not an unfeasible thing. I just have to figure out how to do it.
Okay. And would you agree that the rules require you to keep these items in the shed? I mean, that's the way I'm reading it. Anything that doesn't belong out on the lawn, you should keep in a shed, or I suppose dispose of it. And that would include the red tote and whatever buckets are in it.
Yes, yes. I was a little taken aback that a shovel and a snow blower were not considered okay for winter time. Yes, and I'm
I
probably,
think Ms. Hollick did say that she would expect those items to be out during the winter months at least. So,
well, okay. On March 10th, I was told
okay.
I need to start carrying it back to my shed.
Okay.
And I'm not meaning to sound, I don't want to be the narc. I don't want to be, but I can easily take pictures of 20 places here that have far worse conditions than I do. That's why I'm feeling picked on, singled out. I mean, the person across
Okay.
the road
I'm
from me,
just gonna object to this testimony again from Ms. Williams.
it pertains to me when I'm not being
Well,
treated like
okay,
everyone
hang
else.
on. There's an objection, and I'm going to let Ms. Williams continue, even though, frankly, the fact that you feel you've been singled out isn't something this court finds relevant to this hearing. It's just, did you violate the rule or not? So, what else would you like me to know, Ms. Williams?
When I got the what was supposed to be an agreement and actually came in as some really, really intimidating legal document, 3 hours before this case, I was going to ask for a continue, continuance.
Continuance, yeah, or adjournment.
There, the vocabulary in that mix is way over my head, way over my head. And some of the things that are being cited or referenced, I would have to go research what those even are. So no, I was not comfortable signing that. And that's why
Okay, well, that's another issue. As I indicated earlier, it's not really relevant in any negotiations that went on, but I can understand what you're telling me, that you wouldn't necessarily agree to it without having an attorney look at it, or at least being able to analyze it.
I had 3 hours today.
Okay, so Ms. Reed, do you have any questions for Ms. Williams?
So Ms. Williams, you do have a copy of your most recent lease and the current rules and regulations, correct?
I don't have a lease, no. And I don't have rules and regulations.
Okay. So the last lease you signed that expired in 2024, you don't have that lease in your possession anymore?
Yes, it expired. Yeah, I do have that.
All right. And the term on page 1 that says tenant shall be subject to all provisions of this lease, when you go on a month-to-month basis, you didn't have the opportunity to read that section?
I guess it's maybe it's a way it can be interpreted, because it also says term lease agreement shall be for a period of 12 months commencing October 1st, 2023, terminating September 30th, 2024. So if it's terminated, it's done, it's gone.
Okay. So you're just taking the one paragraph out of the lease. You didn't read the other paragraphs?
There's many, many paragraphs that say one thing and completely are contradicted 2 sentences later.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm confused. If you don't think you have a lease, then why you haven't removed your home and vacated the premises if your lease it was terminated back in September?
Because I'm paying the rent for it. Are you accepting my rent money plus the $41 that I'm getting charged because I wasn't given a lease?
Okay. All right.
My
And-
intention was always to not stay here. I had circumstances beyond my control that have made it, I can't move it out at this time. The very first time I can, I most certainly will.
When you received the just cause demand in the attachment A in November, did you have any discussions with the previous manager or since Ms. Hollick started about resolving those issues that reference the home site, the home, the storage shed, and outside issues?
There was nothing ever mentioned about the storage shed. Nothing.
You didn't receive the just cause demand in November?
Yeah,
And you see the attachment A where it references storage shed about halfway down?
I don't even know if I'm looking at the right thing. I must not be.
What's the heading on that document, Ms. Reed?
Your Honor, it's the attachment A to the demand for possession that was issued on November 15th of 2024. And for the basis for the termination, it references C attachment A, which was attached and sets forth the specific lease provisions, community guideline provisions, and the factual basis for the violations that violate those specific provisions.
You see that attachment A now, Ms. Williams?
Yep, I sure do. Can you tell me?
The question was, did you receive that?
Yes, but the storage
Okay.
shed there is a description of what your storage shed's supposed to be built like.
Okay. So the first sentence, it just references that if there's outdoor storage, you must use a storage shed, correct?
If there's outdoor storage of any kind, a utility storage shed must be installed at the resident's expense. One shed per home. Okay.
And you've received numerous violations for items in your yard that are not stored in the shed.
Not in between my house and my shed.
Okay. Does it reference anywhere on here that there's a specific place that it's okay to keep things, or it just says no outdoor storage, it needs to be in the shed?
I guess I was going off the reference of the violations I received from the park.
Okay.
And I have every, and I wrote that.
Ms. Williams, you'll have a chance to argue at the end, but for right now, you need to just answer the questions that Ms. Reed puts to you.
Your Honor, I have no more further questions at this time.
Okay, so based on Ms. Reed's questions, is there anything else you want to add, Ms. Williams? Okay, so that's a no, and then Ms. Reed, closing.
I'm sorry.
We'll give you a chance in closing arguments to make your case. So go ahead, Ms. Reed, closing argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, the testimony and the documents that have been submitted, either with the initial pleadings or via admission today, there are numerous pictures that show violations of the lease, violations of the community rules. It's the tenant's responsibility to know what the terms of the lease are. The lease isn't, it's barely 4 pages. The community rules, I think, are about 5 pages. And on the very first page, it references enforcement of the rule violations or enforcement of rules. And one of those provisions provides for, we can give you a notice of a written violation, or we can file a termination of tenancy. She received 3 rule violations. I don't think there's any dispute as to that. And then those weren't cured. And the just cause demand was issued on November 15th with an attachment A referencing additional issues that had developed between those October violations and the filing of the issuance, I guess I should say, of the just cause demand. That was November. We're now almost into April. Ms. Hollick has indicated a couple of issues have been resolved, but the home and site maintenance in and of themselves have not been resolved. You can see from the pictures, there's branches, dog feces, which again was one of the primary issues. Storage behind her unit or her home of several things that are just outside. And just to clarify for the record, Your Honor, the lease indicates landlord shall have the right to enter the lease site to inspect. It doesn't have to be exigent circumstances. And certainly when we're involved in contested litigation regarding the condition of the home and site, having maintenance staff take pictures of the current issues is certainly relevant. And again, it's the tenant's responsibility to know what they're in violation of. And she given numerous opportunities to resolve these issues. They're not resolved. And, you know, my client I believe, has met its burden as far as her failure to maintain the home and the site in accordance with the rules and the lease and the aesthetics of the community. She's been given numerous opportunities to do so, and she has failed to do so. So I would request entry of the possession judgment. There's obviously no redemption amount because we didn't request any type of money judgment.
What did you say about the redemption?
Your Honor, I just indicated there wouldn't be a redemption amount on the
there wouldn't be a redemption amount. Okay, so you're requesting at this time a possession judgment. Now, what if the defendant were able to cure the problem within the 10 days that this court would normally give to, you know, if this were a past due rent case, they get 10 days to pay the judgment. Would that satisfy the plaintiff? And or are you simply asking? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Your Honor, I can certainly ask my client. I would just obviously I know this court knows this, but just for the record purposes, that you know, the possession judgment in a termination case doesn't provide for an opportunity to cure. The judgment just says, you know, the plaintiff has met its burden and the defendant needs to vacate. And usually with the just cause termination, they've got the statutory 90 days to leave the home there, subject to provisions of I think it's 600-5781. But whether or not Ms. Hollick wants to agree at this time to provide Ms. Williams with the additional 10 days, I'll leave that to her discretion. If she does so agree, I guess I would want I'll have to think of some specific language for the judgment so that if those issues aren't cured within that 10 days, that I hate to have to come back for, you know, a third hearing, but I'll leave that to Ms. Hollick.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
all we're really asking is for the home site to be clean. And I think that 10 days, if she can clean the home site up in 10 days, the last thing I want is for someone to be removed from a home and lose their housing. And all that we have been asking this whole time is just to have a clean home site. And that's all that we're asking. And so this, you know, I think that this can all, you know, go away or be cured if that could be done in the next 10 days.
Okay. Ms. Williams, before you give your closing argument here, I'm sorry. Made it. Can you hear me?
Went really soft.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Not really.
Huh. I wonder if something's wrong with your computer. Did you turn off the volume by accident or
No, I'm on
mute yourself?
My phone.
You're on your phone?
Yeah.
Can you hear
All right,
me?
I'll just hold it up. I'll hold it up to my ear and listen.
Can you hear me now that you've got your phone up to your ear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I haven't made a decision yet in this case. And before you make your closing argument, there is she's gone. Okay, Ms. Williams, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I apologize. I didn't realize my phone was dying.
Okay, well, it's been a long afternoon anyway. So Ms. Williams, what I was saying is I haven't made any determination at this point, but A couple of things I should mention that if there's an old set of tires in the yard, you don't just get to move the old tires to the shed and replace them with a new set of old tires or other junk. The notice was not specific. It said clutter. It didn't identify specific items. A landlord may enter to inspect property. And in this case, we're talking about just photos from the outside that the neighbors or anyone could see anyway. So that was not a concern or a consideration in this case. And the lease terms, all of the lease terms continued even after the date of the lease expired, because this was a month-to-month lease, and all of those terms continue in force, whether you signed up for them or not, just by the fact that you're continuing to pay rent. So those are just legal facts I want you to know. But I can't imagine what the expenses and the problems would be with trying to move your home off this lot, and it's all over something you could probably pay someone maybe $100 to clean up the dog feces in the yard and move the pool and so forth. So what I'm saying is, I think you should go back in the breakout room and speak with Ms. Hollick and Ms. Reed, because I don't think they want to see that happen either. And maybe you can reach an agreement, but I think sometimes, you may feel picked on, and maybe you are, maybe you're being singled out in some way, but I don't have any evidence of that today. And frankly, it probably wouldn't matter. If you violate the rules, you violate the rules. And anyhow, that's what I'm going to say. Do you want to have a breakout room with Ms. Reed and Ms. Hollick?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Ms. Reed, do we have any agreement?
I believe so, Your Honor. While you were off the bench, I emailed over to your clerk a copy of the conditional dismissal that we had sent over to Ms. Williams earlier. I went over the terms with her and explained a couple of the things that she was hesitant about. And so I think she's comfortable if we place the terms on the record, and if Your Honor could sign it as or the court. I just wanted to make sure she had a chance to have Your Honor read through it.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and, well, you're saying you want to give her a chance to review that before she agrees, but under the law, she would have a 3-day right of rescission anyhow. So you could agree today, but if you reviewed this with an attorney, Ms. Williams, and you decided it wasn't in your best interest, we could come back and I could make my ruling, or just set it for a hearing to understand your objections. Okay, so you do have a 3-day right of rescission to review that agreement, and that's 3 business days. So we're talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday close of business. Okay. So what are the terms of the conditional dismissal, Ms. Reed?
Thank you, Your Honor. So the conditional dismissal indicates that pursuant to normal conditional dismissal rules, the case would be dismissed today or upon entry with this court of the case without prejudice. And Ms. Williams would be allowed to continue to reside at King's Court under the following conditions. she would be placed on a probationary period for 12 months that would begin on the date the order is signed. And during that 12-month period, she would be required to, as she would be anyway, she and any occupants would be required to comply with the terms of the lease agreement and the rules. And specifically with paragraph 3 of the conditional dismissal, by April 11th, she would need to remove and or store the ladder and kiddie pool, remove and or store all items behind the house on the side of the shed, and clean up and remove all dog feces on the lot. And then paragraph 4 indicates that any future home site or home condition issues need to be addressed promptly within 5 days notice from the plaintiff by a written rule violation. And if she fails to do so, it would be a material noncompliance and a default of the conditional dismissal. And lastly, if there are 3 or more of these notices issued by the plaintiff during the 12-month period, that would also be deemed to be material noncompliance for which the plaintiff could move forward with a request for the order and writ.
Okay, so Ms. Williams, are you agreeing to that today with the understanding you've got until the close of business Wednesday to change your mind?
Yes, what scares me is I don't understand what all this means. Will I get the stuff put away? Yes. I'm not signing this because I don't understand what it all means, and I don't want to get caught in
Okay.
something.
That's what the 3-day right of rescission is about. You've got the 3 days to comply. Otherwise, we're going to come back and I am going to make a decision in this case. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But I want you to really think about what that would mean if this court were to issue a possession judgment and within 10 days, a court officer were to come out and tell you you need to get off the lot. You have to have the home moved, perhaps at the expense of the landlord initially that would be billed to you and put in as a lien against your home. So I want you to think about that, but
I'm not saying that I won't do it. I'm just saying I don't.
Okay.
And what does that mean?
All right. So that's what the 3 days is about, and you may want to talk to an attorney about that before you decide to sign, and otherwise, if you're not going to sign, we'll be back here and I'll make my decision. Okay. We're all set for this afternoon then. I want to thank Ms. Reed and Ms. Hollick and you, Ms. Williams, and feel free to sign off at this time.
Your Honor, before we did do that, I just want to make sure I'm sure how we're moving forward logistically. So if Ms. Williams decides to sign it, we would obviously just submit that to the court. If she decides she doesn't want to do so, for whatever reason, do we just contact the court and ask the clerk to set on for I don't know, I guess we don't need another hearing, but just to let you know that we would need a decision made?
Yeah, I think Ms. Martin here will put a tickler on her calendar to get it set for hearing as soon as possible if we don't receive a signed consent agreement.
If they could just reach out to the clerk and let
conditional
the clerk
dismissal before then. Okay.
Obviously, I'll sign it. I don't have a choice. So consider it signed.
Okay. Well, I'm taking that as you're agreeing to the terms, but again, you still have the 3 days until close of business Wednesday to consider that decision and to review the terms more closely, okay? All right, we're all set for this afternoon. And again, thank you all, and feel free to sign off at this time.
Okay, thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I have to say there was not a lot out there today to choose from, so I tried the best I could. But this woman thinks that all of her neighbors should be forced to look at her garbage and her yard equipment and tires and who knows what else. She thinks that her neighbors should have to look at that. Although I don't think she would appreciate it if her next door neighbor had a bunch of garbage on his lawn or on his porch, or even, encroaching right next to her yard. She probably wouldn't appreciate that either. So, you treat your neighbors as you would want them to treat you, right? Oh. And she made a big deal of saying that she didn't have a lease. So I guess in her mind, that means she shouldn't have to follow the rules because she doesn't have a signed lease any longer. Now she's on a month-to-month. Well, if you really felt that way, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you hire a moving company that moves mobile homes, hook it up, and take it somewhere else? Someplace where they would give you a lease for another year. These people didn't want to, probably because you're kind of a pain, I have a feeling. So they didn't want to write a whole nother year's lease for her. They wanted to go on a month-to-month because they wanted to be able to boot her as soon as they wanted to, as soon as they felt like it. And I just think that it would be a lot cheaper to hire somebody for a day to move all your crap into your shed than it will be for you to hire a company to come and move your mobile home. It just seems like that would be the most logical thing. But I don't think logic, is alive here. Just my thoughts. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, my voice is now starting to go back out because I'm talking too much. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.